So, yo, I know you've seen pictures of a lot of African tribesmen or tribes people just sort of like existing and doing whatever activities that they do out in the wilds of Africa, you know what I mean? Living their tribal, traditional lives. And one question I've always had is like, how do they look so lean and how do they look like muggers almost? You know, like they got like the little, you know what I mean? They got like the hollow cheeks, the strong jawline, and it's really something that I've even seen people make videos on, and I really think it's a really interesting thing to sort of look at because, I mean, if you're interested in sort of like improving your fitness and health and all sorts of aspects of life, I really think looking at people who live more simple lives, less civilized lives, and seeing what they do, I think will really shed a lot of light on this sort of things, like if we should be doing them or not. So with that being said, let's get into that. So I basically spent the last few months looking at a bunch of different African ethnic groups' diets, and I really do think their diets probably play like a huge role, especially like some of these groups, they eat lots of meat, whole foods and healthy foods, something that we don't really do much in America. But I also remember when the whole looks maxing thing came out with Mike Mew, and he was talking about sort of the reasons why people in modern civilizations in today's day and age are sort of less facially attractive or less facially developed, and that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to being less facially developed because a lot of people eat foods and diets that sort of aren't really compatible with building sort of like a good looking face structure or physique. And what I mean by that is that basically like the sort of explanation that came with this is that people are eating a lot more soft foods, and these sort of foods that these people eat basically hinder jaw development because people aren't swallowing properly, people aren't breathing, people are mouth breathing, they aren't really breathing properly or anything like that, and it really comes at the expense of a healthy sort of facial bone structure. And that's basically what it is. A lot of these African ethnic groups just have a lot of, and it's not even exclusive to African ethnic groups, but a lot of these sort of like natural sort of like living tribes people just have healthy facial development. And that's basically what it just comes down to. They aren't eating fast food every single day, but they're also living a sort of traditional life which keeps them active, keeps them on their feet, and also it's just good for them in all different types of ways. I'm pretty sure you guys have been seeing the videos, if you're familiar with Looks Max, you might not be, but of the Samburu guys where people are saying this is the natural human, he's like a true mogger. And honestly, yeah, like that guy is, bro. Guy's like handsome as hell. I wish I looked like I wish I was him. But looking at some of those tribes in specific, like the Kenyan area, Turkana area, they have really interesting diets where they're really high in dairy, really high in meat. And if you know about me, if you've been watching me for a while, you've been knowing that I've been going on about this pastoralist that thing. And it's really interesting because I'm gonna show you, like, there's this one tribe that lives in my country on the side that's closest to Kenya, and they have like a crazy diet, right? But they're also muggers too. I can leave some pictures of them. About half of their diet is literally just meat and blood. Now, I'm not advocating people eat blood, but you know, this is sort of like the natural way of eating. At least I say, like, and you might ask, like, what do I mean by natural way? I guess this is just a more like, you know, like human way of eating. Like humans weren't really meant to eat like processed foods, you know what I mean? But we were meant to eat meat. We were meant to eat fruits and vegetables. We were meant to eat things like, you know, healthy full grain carbs, you know what I mean? Things like that. And that's what these people eat. You got these kids running outside, you know what I mean? Shooting guns and raiding when they're young. And they grow up to just look like absolute like muggers, units, you know what I mean? And I think just looking at them, you know, this is the part 2 of that video I recorded last year, like the African looks maxing secrets. Honestly, if you focus on sort of living a sort of natural life, so you get your diet on point, and then you're also just really active, you'll probably sort of resemble more of those, not those ancient people, like these tribes people in terms of look, because it's not so much that they are just naturally whatever. Being an attractive human really just comes down to like proper development and growth. And so, yeah, I mean, this is pretty much just sort of like a BS video, you know what I mean, where I just wanted to record something. I needed something to talk about, and this was a topic that came up to mind. So yeah, with that being said, peace, bro. Basically what that was about is I've been lifting for about 3 years, and I know what it's like to grind endlessly while also not really knowing or having a real direction of where you're going. You just kind of know you want to build a real body but having no real aim. And so I had to really figure out how to build an aesthetic body and how the mechanics of that work. In a day and age where most people think that it's just genetics or luck or steroids, which is what gets you to that sort of 10 out of 10 aesthetic V-taper type of physique, people don't realize that it's more about discipline and the right training approach that actually gets you the results that you want. And that's why I created the school community of Ascendancy, where I share all of the things that I've learned over my past 3 years of lifting when it comes to diet, training routines, and as well as a handful of AI generated tools. One of the key tools of it being my phenotype predictor. This is a tool that takes DNA files and generates high quality reports based on your own personalized muscle genetics. And with this sort of information, we use that to build you a tailored fitness plan that will work for you long term and get you the results that you're looking for. This personalized PDF that you'll receive from this tool will give you information about your general health, muscle genetics, as well as hormonal traits and aesthetic traits as well. And even if you haven't taken a DNA test, since this community is in its early stages, I'll be able to work with you to build you a custom personalized fitness plan. We also do weekly calls to check up and do discipline, make sure that you're actually following the plan, and as well as a refund at any time if you're not happy with the services. So if that sounds interesting to you and you're really thinking about taking the next step into doing that and taking this seriously, hit that first link in the description. There you'll be taken to my about page and you can get started today. That being said, peace.